right now, this second. There are 5 words resting in your mind that can rewrite your entire money story. Not 6, not 10, 5. And if you let them in today, really let them sink into your bones, you'll look back a month from now and realize this was the moment everything changed. You think I'm exaggerating? I'm not. These aren't my words. They're Neville Goddard's, the same man who went from sleeping on park benches to manifesting fortunes during the Great Depression. And today, they're yours. But here's what most people miss. It's not about repeating words like a robot. It's about the energy behind them, the feeling. So when I reveal these 5 words in just a moment, I need you to do something for me. Place your hand on your heart right now. Go ahead. Feel that? That heartbeat? That's your rhythm of creation. Now breathe in deep and say this with me. I am ready to receive. Type it in the comments. Not for me, but for you. There's power in declaring it where the universe can echo it back. No pressure, just an invitation if it feels right. Good. Now let's begin. Let me share a story with you. A while back, at one of the workshops I attended in Asheville, I met a woman named Leah. She had a quiet presence, but something about her felt heavy, like life had been sitting on her shoulders for a while. Over lunch, we got to talking. She told me she'd been stuck in the same routine for almost 2 decades. Wake up, work, come home, crash, repeat. Her dreams were buried beneath responsibility. Her self-worth was paper thin. I shared these 5 words with her. I explained the science, the energy, the practice. She was skeptical, but curious. And here's the beautiful part. She decided to give it a try. Every morning, she whispered them into her reflection. Every night, she wrote them in her journal. I am choosing to create abundance now. 6 months later, Leah launched the coaching practice she had shelved for years. Her energy shifted, her relationships healed. She looked alive again. She told me something I'll never forget. Those 5 words reminded me who I am. They woke me up. Now let's talk about why this works, beyond the stories, beyond the inspiration, because I want you to believe in this with both heart and mind. Neuroscience has a term for this: neuroplasticity. Your brain is not fixed. It rewires itself based on what you think, say, and feel regularly. Every word you speak is like a chisel carving out your mental landscape. You say, I'm stuck, and the brain goes, okay, stuck it is. You say, I'm ready, and your brain starts building a path forward. Dr. Caroline Leaf, a cognitive neuroscientist, explains that your words influence your biology. They trigger chemical responses, dopamine, serotonin, cortisol, based on whether those words are empowering or limiting. And the more you repeat certain words, the more they become your identity. That's why affirmations matter. But not just any affirmations, ones that are rooted in intention and identity. And these 5 words, they're a declaration of your becoming. Before I reveal them, I want you to prepare yourself, not just to say them, but to feel them. Because the words only activate their power when you embody them. Are you ready? So now let's unpack them. Word by word, let's get to the core of what makes these 5 words so powerful. Before we do that, let me tell you one thing. The algorithm is watching, and when you subscribe, it tells the universe and YouTube, I'm serious about this. Show me more. More abundance techniques, more synchronicities, more of these aha moments. Think of it like whispering to the cosmos. Yes, I'm ready. No pressure, just a gentle nudge to keep this door open. Because if you're still here, listening this deeply, your future self is already thanking you. The first word we have is I am. These 2 words aren't just language, they're the sacred architecture of existence itself. Neville Goddard didn't just teach this principle, he lived it, proving that I am is the creative frequency that birthed galaxies. When you say these words, you're not speaking as a hopeful human, you're speaking as the God of your reality, the architect of your destiny, the unshakable source from which all manifestations emerge. This is why Scripture declares, I am that I am, because those 3 words contain the entire creative process. Notice the absence of I might be or I should be. No, I am is the atomic bomb of transformation, detonating in the present moment to collapse all false timelines of lack or limitation. It's not affirmation, it's a declaration, not a request to the universe, but a decree from the universe's very core, because you are not separate from it. Every time you say I am, you're performing alchemy. I am poor creates poverty. I am waiting manufactures delay. But I am wealth that summons the substance of universes. This is Neville's best kept secret. Your I am is already omnipotent. The only question is, are you wielding it consciously or letting circumstance wield it for you? The second word is choosing. Choosing is the moment everything begins to shift, not just in your mind, but in your energy, your actions, and ultimately, your reality. Because choosing is where your power wakes up. It's not passive. It's not soft. It's not waiting for life to throw you a bone. It's a bold, sacred decision, one that separates the old version of you from the one who's about to rise. And here's the truth most people never hear. You've always been choosing. Even when you felt stuck, you were still choosing. You chose the belief that said, I can't. You chose the story that said, I'm not ready. You chose the identity that said, maybe later, maybe not me. You didn't do it consciously. It was habitual, subconscious, repetitive. But every time you repeated those old thoughts, you were reinforcing a pattern. You were wiring your brain for fear, for lack, for waiting. Now you choose differently. You choose on purpose. When you say, I am choosing, you send a signal to your subconscious that something new is happening, that a new path is being walked, that the loop is over. You're not waiting for perfect conditions anymore. You're not waiting for outside validation or guarantees. You're choosing your truth, your alignment, your future, regardless of what's showing up right now. And yes, it's scary sometimes. Choosing means letting go of old comforts. It means walking away from familiar pain in exchange for unfamiliar possibility. It means claiming responsibility for what you think, say, feel, and allow. But here's what no one tells you. The moment you choose, life starts choosing you back. Doors open, ideas come, energy rises. Because choosing isn't just psychological, it's vibrational. It shifts your frequency from hoping to declaring, from maybe to absolutely, from victimhood to vision. Choosing is the turning point. It is the rebellion against the lie that you have to wait your turn. It's you saying, no more delay, no more apology. I'm stepping forward. And that choice, it's magnetic. The third word is to create. These two words are the bridge from possibility to reality. To create means you're no longer waiting to be rescued. You're no longer standing by, hoping someone comes along with answers, resources, or approval. You are no longer the observer of your life. You are the architect. To create is a statement of divine authorship. It means you recognize your role, not just as someone who reacts to life, but as someone who designs it. Because here's the truth most people miss. You are always creating. Every thought is a brushstroke. Every belief is a blueprint. Every emotion is building the house you'll live in tomorrow. So when you say, I am choosing to create, you are making a sacred commitment to shift from unconscious manifestation to intentional reality building. You're stepping out of the waiting room and walking into the workshop of your future. To create is an act of courage, because creation requires you to face the blank canvas. It requires you to walk into the unknown, to say yes to inspiration before you feel ready. It means you give yourself permission, not just to dream, but to act, to move, to build. It's easy to wish. It's easy to scroll through life imagining what could be. But to create demands presence, ownership, vision. It asks you to meet yourself at a deeper level and say, this is what I want, and I will make it real. Creation doesn't mean everything is figured out. It means you're willing to take the first step without seeing the whole staircase. And this is where science and spirituality collide. Neuroscience shows that when you set a creative intention, when you commit to building something, shifting something, expressing something, you activate the reticular activating system, RAS, the part of your brain responsible for focus and filtering. Suddenly, you start noticing things you were blind to before. Ideas begin to appear. People show up. Synchronicities align, not because they weren't there, but because you weren't looking through the lens of a creator. The fourth word is abundance. Abundance is not just a thing, it's a state of being. It's not a number in your bank account. It's not a car. It's not a house. It's not something you wait for. It's something you tune into. Abundance is a frequency. It's a feeling you carry long before you see the results. It's waking up and saying, there's more than enough, even if the evidence isn't there yet. It's trusting that life is generous, that life is on your side, and that what you need will either arrive or you'll be guided to it. Most people live in a loop of lack. They repeat it every day without knowing. I can't afford that. There's never enough time. I don't think I deserve it. People like me don't get that kind of life. But those aren't facts. They're scripts, and the longer you rehearse them, the more they hardwire your nervous system into scarcity. And here's the truth no one teaches in school. Your nervous system is listening to every word you say. Your subconscious mind is accepting it as truth. Your energy field is broadcasting it to the world. So if you speak limitation, you attract limitation. If you speak abundance, you create space for it to flow in. Now, abundance is not just financial. That's where people get stuck. Yes, money matters, but that's only one piece. Abundance is also a peaceful mind, creative freedom, time to rest, divine timing working in your favor, feeling safe and supported without needing a reason. When you speak the word abundance, you are not begging for more. You are claiming your alignment with a higher truth, that the universe is not a stingy system of competition and struggle, but a field of endless possibility waiting for you to say yes, and that yes begins inside you. Here's something most people never stop to realize. Words are not just sounds, they are instructions. They shape the lens through which you see the world. Every word you speak to yourself creates a ripple, chemically, emotionally, energetically. When you say things like, "I'm stuck," "It's too late," "I'm not ready," your brain listens, your nervous system adjusts, your energy contracts. But when you speak with intention, when you say, "I am choosing to create abundance now," you shift into a completely different state. Neuroscientists have proven that repeated language forms new neural pathways. Spiritual teachers have always said, "In the beginning was the Word." Different paths, same truth. Words are creation tools. They're spells we cast with our breath. And the more you repeat powerful language, the more your subconscious starts to believe it, embody it, and project it back into your reality. So choose your words like they matter, because they do. Speak them not just to sound different, but to become different, and watch how everything around you begins to align. Our fifth and last word is now. This is the word that brings it all together, because now is the only time that truly exists. The past, it's memory. The future, it's imagination. But now is alive. It's breathing. It's real. It's the only place where your power actually lives. And yet, so many people live everywhere but now. They replay the past on a loop, punishing themselves for mistakes, dragging old versions of themselves into the present, or they obsess over the future, filling it with fear, what-ifs, and worst-case scenarios. But now is the only moment you can touch, the only moment you can choose, the only moment where healing, action, and transformation can happen. Now is the doorway to your new identity. It's where energy meets decision. It's where dreams get up off the vision board and start walking. You see, the mind loves to wait. It says, "I'll start when I'm confident, when I have more time, when things are calmer, when I feel ready." But here's the raw truth. Ready is a myth. Confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. There will never be a perfect moment. There will never be less chaos. There will never be a time when all the lights are green and the road ahead is perfectly paved. There is only now. And when you say, "I create abundance now," you collapse the illusion of time. You stop chasing. You stop waiting. You stop negotiating with fear. You tell your subconscious, this is not a wish, it's a decision. And decisions, made in the now, carry a vibration that echoes into your future. Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that the present moment is when you're most connected to your personal power. When you're living in the past, you're recycling old emotions. When you're obsessing over the future, you're caught in survival mode. But now, this moment is where the body and mind align. It's where your frequency becomes coherent, where you access flow, where you become magnetic to the life you're building. In spiritual traditions across the world, from Zen Buddhism to ancient yogic philosophy, the present moment is considered sacred. It's called the eternal now, because within it, all possibilities already exist. You don't have to force, you don't have to chase, you don't even have to figure it all out. You just have to return to now, again and again and again. Now is the most spiritual, most grounded, most powerful word in your vocabulary. It means you're no longer outsourcing your life to circumstances. It means you've stopped deferring your joy, your power, your breakthroughs. It means you've chosen presence over perfection. Let that sink in. Let that feel real. Because when you fully embrace this word, you stop living like life is happening to you, and you start living like life is happening through you. Say it with me. I create abundance now. Not when things calm down. Not when you've read another book, taken another course, waited for another sign. Now, feel the energy of that word ripple through your chest. Let it anchor you in this moment. What would change if you acted like this was your moment? What would shift if you believed your breakthrough wasn't 6 months away. It was waiting for you to align with it now. Let the old stories dissolve. Let the fear slow down, and let this moment become your reset. Because the most powerful time to change your life is not someday. It's not soon. It's not after. It's now. Most people don't realize this, but there's a massive difference between hoping for something and assuming it. Hoping keeps you at a distance from what you want. It says, I want it, but I'm not sure it's mine. It's passive. It's waiting. It places your desire out there, somewhere in the future, just out of reach. But assumption, that's a completely different frequency. Assumption says, this is already mine. I'm just aligning with it. It's not about convincing yourself with blind positivity. It's about embodying the energy of the end result. Now, Neville Goddard taught this again and again. He said, assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, not hope, not want. Assume, because assumption changes your posture. It changes your energy. It changes what you allow, what you tolerate, and what you magnetize. When you walk through the world with the energy of, I am choosing to create abundance now, you stop begging for breakthroughs and start behaving like someone who expects them. You shift from being a seeker to a receiver. And the moment you do that, life starts to move differently. People show up, opportunities open, the inner and outer world begin to sync. Not because you forced it, but because you assumed it. An assumption is one of the most powerful spiritual decisions you can ever make. Perfect. Now that we've just walked through the 5 words, I am choosing to create abundance now. It's time to shift gears, because this isn't just about understanding these words, it's about living them. So what happens next? Now that you've received the 5 words, here's what I need you to understand. This is your activation moment, not just a motivational high, not just something that feels good in theory. This is the moment you decide to use these words as a way of life. Because if you go back to the old story, the old beliefs, the old patterns, you'll just keep creating from them. You'll wake up tomorrow and see the same things, feel the same blocks, repeat the same cycles. But these words are the interruption. They're the conscious break in the loop. They are the new command you're giving to your subconscious mind. They are the new frequency you're sending out into the quantum field. They are the new blueprint you're handing your nervous system. And like any blueprint, you have to build from it daily. So let's talk about what that actually looks like. Because this isn't just something you say once and forget. This is something you breathe into, something you return to again and again until it becomes your baseline. When you wake up tomorrow, these words should be the first thing out of your mouth. Before you grab your phone, before the world gets loud, stand in front of the mirror, look yourself in the eye, and speak them with conviction. Not like you're reciting something from a page, but like you're giving yourself a new identity. Let your voice carry it. Let your body believe it. Let the words settle in your chest like a promise you fully intend to keep, because that's what this is, a promise to yourself. You're not repeating some fluffy affirmation. You're issuing a command to the deepest parts of your mind and soul. You're telling your old self, we're done with the patterns of lack. We're done with delay. We're done playing small. And you're telling your future self, I see you. I'm on my way. And I'm not waiting anymore. And then something beautiful starts to happen. Your thoughts begin to shift. The noise quiets. That anxious loop of, what if I can't, begins to lose its grip. Because now you've chosen. You're not floating. You're not reacting. You're not begging for clarity. You're choosing. You're creating. You're grounded in abundance. And that energy, that kind of clarity, it starts to change your decisions. You start moving differently. You speak up more. You stop shrinking in rooms where you belong. You start saying yes to things you used to avoid, and you start saying no to things that drain you. You stop asking if you're ready, and you start acting like you already are. This is what happens when the words are no longer just words. They become part of your nervous system, your emotional baseline, your home frequency. And yes, there will still be hard days. Of course there will. You'll still feel doubt. You'll still hear the voice in your head whisper, is this really working? But instead of collapsing, you return to the words, I am choosing to create abundance now. You say them slower. You say them softer. You say them with your hand on your heart if you have to. And in that moment, you remember, this is who I am now. You're not chasing change anymore. You're becoming it. And when you shift like that, from thinking to feeling, from feeling to knowing, from knowing to doing, the world around you begins to mirror the shift inside you. New conversations open up. Unexpected opportunities show up. Synchronicities line up perfectly. Not because you forced anything, but because you finally became a vibrational match for what you once thought was out of reach. This is why you found these words today. Not for motivation, not for hype, but because your soul was ready. Ready to stop waiting. Ready to stop doubting. Ready to walk through life as someone who creates abundance, not just dreams about it. So keep saying the words. Say them when you're confident. Before we wrap up, let me share a quick story. During one of the workshops I attended in Taos, New Mexico, I met a man named Noah. Quiet, thoughtful, one of those people who looks like they're listening more to life than trying to speak over it. From the outside, Noah looked like he had it together. Steady job, decent place, polite smile. But when we sat down during a lunch break, he opened up. He told me he felt empty, not broken, not falling apart, just numb. He said, "I feel like I'm living the same year on repeat. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, but nothing feels like mine." He wasn't lost. He was disconnected from joy, from purpose, from himself. That's when I shared these 5 words with him. I am choosing to create abundance now. He didn't say much at first, just nodded. But later that night, he came up to me again. The stars were out. We were standing near the edge of the retreat center, where the silence felt like medicine. And he said, "I never realized how much of my life I've spent waiting for things to feel better, waiting for something to change. But I wasn't choosing anything. I was just existing." That conversation lit a spark. Noah went home with those 5 words written on a note card in his wallet. He started saying them every morning, before work, before checking his phone, before the noise of the day kicked in. He didn't do anything dramatic at first, no big leaps, but something inside him began to shift. He started speaking differently. He stood a little taller. He stopped apologizing for wanting more. Within weeks, he pulled his old tools out of storage, woodworking tools he hadn't touched in years. He built a small table for his apartment, then a bench for a friend, then shelves for a local shop. He wasn't chasing success, he was creating again. And when he reached back out a few months later, you could hear the difference in his voice. He said, "The words didn't just change how I thought, they changed how I felt. And once I felt different, I started making different choices." He had joined a local makers collective, started hosting weekend workshops, and eventually, quietly, confidently, left the job he had once thought he couldn't live without. Not because life forced him to, because he chose to, because he stopped waiting for someone to hand him permission. And he started living like someone who believed abundance wasn't a fantasy, it was a frequency. What changed? The way he spoke to himself, the way he identified, the energy behind his decisions. He wasn't hoping anymore. He wasn't trying to escape his life. He was building it, one word, one breath, one choice at a time. He didn't just say the words, he became them. I am choosing to create abundance now. And just like that, the loop broke. The numbness lifted. His life opened. Because when you begin speaking like someone who's already free, your world begins to rearrange itself to match your voice. That's not just a spiritual concept. It's how your brain works. It's how your energy works. It's how the universe responds. And if it happened for Noah, it can happen for you. If this spoke to something inside you, if it reminded you of the power you already have, then this is just the beginning. These 5 words aren't something you use once and forget. They're a doorway, a shift, a quiet revolution that starts within. And if you want to keep growing, if you want to stay connected to ideas, stories, and practices that keep you aligned, then I'd love to have you here. You don't have to subscribe because of me. Do it for you. Let it be a signal to yourself that you're committed to this path, that you're not just inspired, you're invested, that this new version of you isn't a moment, it's a movement. And every time you see a new video pop up, let it be a reminder of the choice you've made to create, to rise, to live from abundance, to live from now. So if that feels right to you, go ahead, hit the button, and keep going. Your next breakthrough might be one video away. I hope you enjoyed this video. See you in the next one.